Hi guys, this is Erica from Gokce Capital. Now before I begin, be sure to click subscribe and turn on the notification bell. Rosario Hernandez grows vegetables for her grandchildren on her property in Atlanta. So she was alarmed when a chunk of rock in her garden came back positive for lead. Now what was this rock and where did it come from? We'll find out at the end of this video. But first, if you are analyzing a property for purchase, you may want to review the Sanborn maps of the area. These historic maps can uncover potential contaminants as well as other valuable information. And in today's video, we have the top things you need to know. Number 1. What are Sanborn maps? Sanborn maps, also known as Sanborn Fire Insurance Maps, are detailed maps of United States cities and towns created in the 19th and 20th centuries. Number 2. What was the purpose of Sanborn maps? Sanborn maps were originally published by the Sanborn Map Company, which is where their name comes from. The maps were created to allow fire insurance companies to assess their total liability in urbanized areas. Yet today, their detailed information about properties and individual buildings is very useful for documenting changes in the built environment over decades. Number 3. What type of information do Sanborn maps include? These maps often have the following details: building addresses, building height, building footprints, street names, number of stories per building, building construction materials, building use, and right-of-ways. Number 4. How are Sanborn maps useful to property owners? Sanborn maps may be used to research the historical land uses on and around a property. They can assist with certain aspects of property research, including checking for historic wetlands, flooding, or potential environmental contamination. For this reason, Sanborn maps are often utilized during a Phase 1 environmental site assessment as a way to determine whether there is potential contamination on a property. Number 5. Where can I find Sanborn maps? The largest collection of Sanborn maps is currently in the Library of Congress, where it has been since 1967. It includes 1,840 volumes of Sanborn atlases and maps. Since this is the largest collection, it is a great place to start. Having said this, depending on where you live, you may also be able to find some collections of local Sanborn maps at your public or university library. And finally, number 6. How do you read a Sanborn map? Well, you should start with the legend. This is typically found on the first or second page and varies from year to year. The legend will tell you what each symbol in the map means. If you haven't read a Sanborn map before, you may also want to check the abbreviation glossary. This glossary is a list of abbreviations and obscure terminology that may be found on Sanborn maps. In addition, the Library of Congress provides a color key that lists out what the different colors on Sanborn maps indicate. Finally, the Library of Congress has a line style guide, which provides information on the different line styles used on Sanborn maps. And if you'd like to learn more, we have links to all of these resources in this video's description. But if you're curious about what a Sanborn map looks like, here's an example from Boston. Different buildings are colored different colors based on the material used. Red is often brick, yellow, wood. And then when you zoom in, you'll see that some buildings have been labeled with uses, such as gas factory here. And it is these labels that can help uncover historic uses that may be a potential source of contamination. But now that we've covered the basics of Sanborn maps, let's return to Rosario Hernandez. Rosario keeps gardens on her properties in Atlanta's West Side neighborhood, where she grows vegetables for her grandchildren. Scattered among Rosario's vegetable beds are chunks of lava-like rock. Rosario had not given too much thought to these rocks before. That is, until researchers from Emory University showed up at her garden. Professor Eri Saikawa from Emory's Department of Environmental Sciences visited Rosario as part of a project to test neighborhood yards for heavy metal content that was initiated at the request of a local nonprofit, Historic West Side Garden. When those chunks of rock in Rosario's yard were analyzed in the lab, they turned out to be slag, a byproduct of industrial smelting that is often a source of lead contamination. A review of historic Sanborn maps further revealed that at least 10 foundries once operated in the region. The slag from these foundries was likely used to fill in low-lying areas in the West Side neighborhood, creating level ground over which homes were later built. And this slag, along with paint and vehicle exhaust from the era of leaded gasoline, have left high levels of lead in the soil of many West Side properties, including Rosario's. "It's horrible," Hernandez said. "What if I contributed to my grandchildren having not only health problems, but developmental delays in their learning?" Sadly, this story is not unique. There are hundreds of similar examples where historic research uncovered legacy contamination in neighborhoods and properties across the country. In this case, West Side community members and the Emory University team met with the EPA and the Georgia Department of Health to discuss options. The EPA immediately initiated their own study, which expanded the area of investigation to 2,097 properties. Meanwhile, Rosario and other West Side community members began a vigorous door-to-door campaign to inform property owners about the need to test children for lead. Then, on September 9, 2021, the EPA submitted a proposal to add the West Side neighborhood to the Superfund program's National Priorities List, which would open up millions of dollars to help clean up contaminated properties. And as of December 2021, just under 100 of the 311 lead-contaminated properties have been cleaned. Sadly, no amount of remediation can undo the damage that may already have been done. But the hope is that very soon, Rosario and her neighbors will finally be able to garden on clean, lead-free soil. Now, do you have any stories about historic contamination? Let us know in the comments. Did you like this video? You're going to love our Gokce Land Due Diligence program. We'll make you a land due diligence expert in just 7 days. Check it out at gokcecapital.com/glad. And while you're at our website, don't forget to explore our $1 down listings at gokcecapital.com/listings. Finally, don't hesitate to reach out. You can email, call, or text, and we will respond as soon as possible. So thank you for listening, and more to come.